Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the channel today. It's Valentine's Day, of course. And we used to do a lot of the Lupercalia videos every single year, as long as we've been on here. And we're not going to bore you with the details of that anymore. I think people are awake to it. I think there's a large segment of Americans who don't care what the pagan roots are of some of these holidays. They're just really not interested in it because they believe that their form of celebration has nothing to do with those pagan roots. And so I just kind of got tired of talking about it. And for those of you that are awake, you do know that it is Lupercalia, the ancient wolf festival of human sacrifice and fertility rituals, and the pink being the blood mixed with milk. We already know all that. And unfortunately, it seems as though the separation of the sheep and the goats has already kind of come and went. So we'll move on for that. If you're interested in Lupercalia and the Wolf Festival, definitely check out some of the older videos if you don't know what I'm talking about. But I wanted to come on to the channel today and just give you an update on where the world's at right now. Of course, Mr. T was acquitted, which we knew was going to happen because they didn't have any evidence. Now, the Dems came back with this montage that was pretty interesting and entertaining, showing the hypocrisy of the left in trying to impeach Mr. T. And, we had brought up some of those same issues, some of those same hypocritical things that they've done as they watched the cities across America burn, and they did not condemn that violence over the last year. But now all of a sudden they wanted to condemn the violence at the White House, which was at the Capitol, I guess I should say, which was nothing close to what we saw happening for an entire year. So that was a slam dunk. Now I am impressed that the left came forward with that, because it really reveals the right-left paradigm. It really reveals that the hypocrisy goes both ways, that both sides are involved in this, and it kind of began to peel back the veil for some people to possibly wake up when they see the hypocrisy of all of this. Now, there's a lot Mr. T could have done while America burned over the last year that he didn't do. He talked about doing things. He talked about sending in the guard and stuff, but he didn't. And so at the end of the day, he allowed that to happen. I mean, in terms of national security, you would definitely want to get control of and go after and make it very public that you're going after people who are destroying property. That just makes sense. So here we are again. And at the end of the day, what we realize is that these politicians all lie. They're all hypocrites. And all they care about at the end of the day is playing gotcha with the other side, which puts you and I and our priorities in last place. We don't need these people ruling over us. We don't need these people telling us what to do and making rules and making mandates and all these things, because they have no idea what they're talking about. And really all they care about is getting the other side, getting back at the other side. Now, the interesting thing, make sure we're connected, appears as though we are. Good morning, everybody, is that I take it a step further. I believe these people are intentionally putting on this theatrical show of division, which trickles down into our reality and causes all of us to fight with each other and stay separated. And I always give this example of the divorce attorneys, chumming it up. Many of them are best friends, but yet they tear marriages to shreds. People hate each other for their entire life. And the children suffer because the households are divided and each parent talks badly about the other one. And then in the back, these attorneys are all buddies. They go golf together, lunch together, have drinks together, because they're making money off of our fear. Do you see how this works? They're gaining control over our personal lives. I don't know if any of you have been through a divorce before, but basically a man in a black robe steps into your life, and two men in suits, men or women, and they then dictate the parameters of the next 18 years of your life. if you have children. And for some people, if you're married longer than 10 years, you have to pay alimony for life till that other person remarries. Now, how can one person have that much control over somebody's personal life? Well, that's the right-left paradigm. They want you in that system because guess what? You're paying the court. You're paying the judge. You're paying the attorneys. All of that is a mechanism of control, and it's the destruction of the family. I've always said that maybe when you get married, it should be under the pretense that even if you divorce, you will be forced to live in the same household and continue to raise your children at least till they're 18 and co-parent. Maybe if they force people to do that, then there would be less families splitting up. There would be less people getting married on a whim and really thinking about entering into that. I always think about those things. So I don't know how we got on the topic of that, but here this is the manufactured division. And of course, this exoneration, which we knew was going to happen. Look at this. 5-7 senators. There's your 5-7 coding, 5G whiz. Interesting, right? And this would be 1984 backwards, which is the era that we're entering into. And what has suffered as a result of this decision? Well, free speech, of course. We have less free speech today than we did the day before and the year before and the year before that. The noose is tightening around our necks, and they're rooting out channels. They're labeling channels with false, fake news. You know, you would think the fact checkers would be all over some of the labels and disclaimers that have been put under our videos, and they would call that out as that is fake information because we have nothing to do with those groups. But of course, the fact checkers don't come to our aid. And so here we are with this acquittal, and this is emboldened Mr. T, this is by design. Our historic, patriotic, and beautiful movement has only just begun. So, as I said, this will begin to bridge the gap, whitewash what happened, and the people that suffered are, of course, all of us, and our ability to speak freely, because we've been labeled with all of these labels. Now, I had heard something. Someone said that he got together with somebody and tried to, I don't know if that news is correct. Maybe we should take a look. Yeah, that might not, let's see what's going on here. I got some news that came across my feed that he had met with somebody to try to bridge the gap. Probably not. That must have been not accurate information. Get a lot of information. I have to wade through a lot of this stuff to figure out what we're going to talk about, you guys. So, Mr. T puts this letter up, and of course, this is going to embolden his supporters. And of course, the crowd that's out there that supports him still is saying that he's going to come back to power on March 4th. Now, that won't happen, of course, but they will just say that it's basically disinformation that they have planned to put out to keep people on their heels and keep people guessing. I don't know how anyone in the world can continue to follow that movement. And here's the thing. Honestly, with all of the news out there about who they are blaming for the Crapit Hole event, don't you think that the way that they magnify the event and make it sound like it was so serious, such a dark hour in American history, and how they have made all these arrests, don't you think that they would have wiped clean YouTube channels who talk about that letter that shall not be named? Don't you think that would have already happened a long time ago? You guys, there are channels that are posting daily continuing the disinfo and lies. Why wouldn't YouTube have already dealt with those channels? They're allowing those channels, just like they allowed them to become huge channels. They allowed them to rise to power and gain hundreds of thousands of followers. You guys, we've been on YouTube since 2012, and here we are at 90 something thousand subscribers, putting up great content every single day, destroying the matrix. And yet you get these channels with the letter that shall not be named that have risen to 400,000 or 500,000. There's a reason for that. They were allowed to do that. And this is the kind of strategy that these alphabet gangs use to co-opt movements, to honey trap any individuals who they believe have a certain mindset that threatens their authority. This is what they do. Let me go back in here and make sure you guys are okay. Yeah, they went after the hearings, or they did this because they basically wanted to prevent him from running again. But all of that is just theater as well. Smoke and mirrors. So you have to ask yourself, what is this really all about? It's distraction. It's to continue the division. He still has a lot of supporters, and so they want that to continue so that they can have someone to oppose. It's the chessboard. Plain and simple. Shout outs to everybody. I saw Allie. I saw Marcy. Tammy. A Muzzle Unicorn. Thanks for coming out, you guys. Now, don't give in to the holiday of today. All this is designed to basically make you go out and want to purchase things, right? And continue the market, because they've strategically placed these holidays throughout the year to pick up where the market begins to go flat. And who makes money off of this? Well, of course, Wall Street, the people at the top, the elite who trade these stocks. They can't have big gaps throughout the year where people aren't buying things. So that's what this is all about. So if you are inclined to do something, maybe, and if you have someone in your life that you love, maybe write them a letter about how you feel about them. Don't go out and just buy things or order things or try to surprise someone, because that's all of the enemy. Those are things that are meant to continue the wealthy, continue their ability to continue to make money. That's what it's all about. That's what it's always been about. So let's get into the rest of the show today. I just wanted to give a few shout outs. See, Marion, George, Little Bear, Meme, I Cherish Crochet, Matt, Trevor, Albert. Thanks everybody for coming out. And if I left your name out, I really apologize. So here is the new normal. Now, we talked about this in the very beginning, all the way back to the 2-week shutdown. And I told you guys, if we give in to this, it will never end. This is just the beginning. And of course, we got a lot of pushback. You know, people are upset. Oh, let's just do it for 2 weeks. No. I already knew back then that this wouldn't be what they said it was going to be. Remember in the beginning, they were putting all this fear into us, saying that if we didn't do this now, that millions were going to die, and that essential personnel would be taken out, and fires would rage out of control because all the firemen would be sick, and crime would run rampant because all the police officers will have come down with this and gotten sick, and there would be no one in the hospitals to care for the sick because they would all be sick. Remember that? And we had these images flashed in front of us day in and day out saying if we didn't do this, this is what would happen. Now, did any of that happen? Of course not. I don't know anybody who's died from this. Do you? All you hear are reports, and usually the reports you hear are from groups of people. Groups. As you guys know, my mom's JW, and I'm like, Mom, has anyone at your church come down with this? And immediately she quoted the church-wide total, which was like 1,000 or something, or a few thousand. Well, they have like millions of people in their church across the world. I'm talking local. I'm talking, is this really a spamdemic? Is this really something that's taking out a person on every street? And it's just not. And it never was. And people can argue, oh, it's because we abided by the guideline. No, a lot of people have not. And think about this. I mean, it's ridiculous the rules they have. Oh, if you social distance, well, social distancing doesn't do anything. The wind blows around, blows these particles around. 6 feet doesn't necessarily mean you're protected. That's an arbitrary number. So if this was as serious as they said it was, then any kind of distancing and any kind of mandates to wear masks wouldn't really do a whole lot to stop it. I don't even think it would do anything to stop the spread. It's just not there. And look at all the people that didn't wear a mask. This is why they work so hard to make everybody wear the mask, because that supports the lie. That reinforces the lie. Because if a bunch of people didn't wear masks, then it would not prop up their lie anymore. Because people would look around and go, wow, none of us are wearing masks, and we're still at only a 0.05% rate of death. That means this thing doesn't spread like they said it does. So the infectious rate of this is not anywhere near what they said it was. Okay? It's all a pipe dream. So this is our new future. And even now, they are saying, even with all the CV19 VCs, they're still going to steal our summer again. They stole the last summer, and now they're going to steal this one. People that are getting the VCs are still being told to wear masks. And now 2 masks. Let's read through this article real quick. The goal remains herd immunity, and that means more than 242 million VC'd. This is the way life used to be. The light at the end of this dark CV19 tunnel is quickly getting brighter. No, I don't think so. But you still won't have a normal summer. Even as efforts to distribute and administer the VC accelerate, the U.S. is unlikely to achieve herd immunity until mid-September. That date will be pushed back as well. That's even with the 1-dose J&J VC that could be authorized for use by the end of February. Oh, so they got another one on the horizon. That's new. And this is the best case scenario. It assumes we have adequate supply of VC. So you can see the trend here, that as time goes on, the pressure will increase for those of us that have not taken the VC to take it, to reach that herd immunity. And all the people that agreed to take it are going to be on our tails, going, you guys are the ones holding us back. You are the ones that stole our summer. You see how this works? They're not coming out and saying that, but they really are saying that. So I hope to be and I will be one of the ones that are not taking this. And I'm sure most of the people on this channel that come here will be in that group as well. What saddens me is that all the people that are taking it. Now, some people, the way they look at this is, look, let them take it. Well, is that really the attitude we're supposed to have, you guys? What about the people and the suffering that's going to happen when they do take it? If we are Christians and we believe in God, we believe in Christ, then we won't allow that to happen. That will not make our hearts feel good, because God does not want anyone to perish or suffer. So be careful with that mentality, because that's going to come along with spiritual consequences. What we should all be saying is that we want to do everything we can to help inform people of what's really happening here. Now, I don't know what specific things are going to happen to people other than the laundry list of adverse events that have come to pass. And also we know that that there are possible long-term adverse events that they don't even know about yet. And my guess is these will be specific to the nervous system as well as autoimmunity, which is exactly what this stuff is all about. Here's another article that talks about the future of our life, that this could become a seasonal illness like the flu. What this means is every single year there will be pushes to have your VC and your booster. There'll be rolling stay-at-home orders, almost like a rolling blackout, rolling business closures, school closures, and this will turn our lives upside down at the end of the day. I'll check in with you guys. Let this catch up. And I saw the word control pass through, and that's exactly what this is. Think about the perfect scenario to control people's lives. We already had it with the teeterists and all of that going back to 2001. They were able to implement control in our lives. We had a new normal, a new way to even to travel. Our lives were completely changed forever because of that event and the fear of teeterists. And here we are again, 19 years later, with a new threat. And now they've taken even more sweeping measures of control over our lives, over our personal lives. They've turned us against one another as well. You've got the people living in fear, thinking this is so virulent and so real and could impact their lives, walking around covering themselves up in fear, just daily fear. What do you think that does to your stress levels in your body? What do you think that does to your health, to be living in constant fear, thinking there's some magic bug that's out to kill you? It probably wreaks havoc on your system. And that is probably what would make you sick far more than the fear of the bug or the bug itself. So you have to ask yourself, what's this really about? You see, the enemy has the most control when he has the most people in fear. This is why you shouldn't be afraid when you come to this channel. Everything we talk about is to expose the enemy and expose the true fear that they're putting out every single day. Having people walking around not even wanting to go to their own loved ones' funerals. Not able to meet the newborns that are coming into the family till they're a year old. What do you think that's doing to these newborns? They're growing up in an entirely new era of fear. And that saddens me. It saddens me to the core. So, doctors know this. They know people can't sustain this amount and level of stress. What is the first thing they tell you when you go to the doctor? Find a way to reduce your stress, right? If that means changing your job or giving yourself personal time, that's the first thing that they tell you to do, any therapist or any doctor. But yet, they're all okay with the daily fear and the barrage of news media and the every day it's a new case. Remember, this reminds me of the body count that we watched during these overseas conflicts. Every day they would talk about how many soldiers died that day. And they were just beating the drum. Fear, fear, fear. Tomorrow it could be your cousin or your brother or your husband that ends up on this count. And that was the fear. It's the same playbook all over again. For any of those of you that watch local news, every single day you wake up, another person falls, another hero, and they'll tell the story. This is the same thing we went through in 2001. Same exact thing. I remember it specifically because back then I was asleep and it would anger me that these people, that I believe that these brave men and women were falling out one by one or getting their legs blown off. And it still saddens me, but now I know the lie. But back then I wanted to sign up. I wanted to do something more drastic. Like maybe he should be able to just drop the bomb and just wipe them all out. Like this is the way people think after a while. And all of that sentiment is going to be turned around on people that don't take the VC. We will become the enemy. It's starting now, and it's going to increase with time. It'll be a matter of time before they start dovetailing the letter that shall not be named with the people that won't take the VC. They're going to pretty much couple those two together in the mainstream media. And then anyone who doesn't take the VC will be lumped into that group. That's going to be next. Mark my words. So what can we do? Best thing we can do is boldly separate ourselves from the letter that shall not be named, because it is a trap. It is a honey trap. I was watching, I went on High Impact Flicks, Brian, and there was a huge letter that shall not be named channel that critiqued one of Brian's videos. And the guy admitted that they put out disinformation. He admitted it. He said it was part of their strategy. So how are you possibly still following that thing if they're admitting that they put out disinformation? They call it counterintelligence. They're telling you in plain sight what they're up to. So this is where the world sits. This is our new reality, you guys. Let's read a little bit of this article here. CV19 could become a seasonal illness like the flu. Millions of people around the globe are hoping that between the lockdowns and the VCs, the V that causes CV19 might soon be eradicated from our lives. But now experts are warning that the V might be with us forever. But it won't always be a deadly plague. It's really not a deadly plague right now, according to the numbers. This CV is going to be here to stay. Brownstein says, Chief Innovation Officer of Boston Children's Hospital. Eradication of this new CV is basically impossible. Of course, it's just like the WAR on teeterism. You can't eradicate them ever. Right? This is what they want you to think. Don't you think it's interesting that just magically we finally got all the teeterists and Mr. T was able to pull out everybody? Why do you think that happens, you guys? It's not because we won anything. Think about it for a second. Use your brain. How is it that we magically got to the bottom of all the teeterists in all the whole world, and now there are no new threats? The threats are gone. We handled it. Mr. T did it. And then right after that comes this, CV19. Anybody with a brain knows that the chances of that happening are zero. There were no teeterists to begin with. It was all a scam. It was an excuse to go into countries. And I mean, there are, grumblings about Iran, but not anything to the degree of what we were slammed with for the past 20 years. Every single week, there was some campaign overseas to root out so-and-so and drone so-and-so. And just magically, Mr. T got it all done? Of course he didn't. It's impossible because you can't win that. It's impossible to win. You mean to tell me there are no more people that want to hurt America? They're just magically, every single last one of them is wiped away clean. They've all been beaten. They were never a threat to begin with. That's the point I'm trying to make. It was all a straw man. Created a good excuse to put you in fear, to make you think it's a real threat so that we would go over there and spend a bunch of money. Now, I try to listen to at least a couple channels on YouTube. I don't agree with everything they talk about. But one channel, I'm not going to name him, but he brought up a really good point. That if you were an individual or a family that spent half to 2/3 of your income on defense, home security system, self-defense mechanisms, had 50 cameras on your house, and 3/4 of your income was spent on defense, you would think that that family was crazy. Kind of reminds me of the Purge films, right? Where that he was ready. The very first Purge film, this guy was a security salesman, and he sold security systems to the entire neighborhood. But his security system was the best. His house was basically a self-contained bunker almost. That was Ethan Hawke that played in that first one. And I can imagine he probably spent maybe 1/3 of his income on that bunker house. But imagine that if you spent 2/3 of your income on defense, I would imagine that the FBI and the CIA and all the alphabet gangs will be very interested in monitoring you, right? And looking at your sanity. And why are you in so much fear? Well, you guys, America spends half to 2/3 of our budget on defense. What does that tell you about our country? So, here we go. This is the new normal. And as I've told you guys before, we had our window of opportunity to put a stop to this. I knew this is where they were taking us, but we didn't convince enough people that this is where they were taking us. Instead, we got labeled with the crazy button. And unfortunately, enough people believe the mainstream when they put labels on us. And now here we are. So we're not ever going to eliminate this, and this will be with us forever. Look at this sad picture. I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This just breaks my heart. That there's an entire generation of children that will be separated from everyone that they love. Now, there's some corruption going on. Many of you have heard this story already. Cuomo was hiding the death toll in the nursing homes. Remember, he sent all the sick people into the nursing homes, basically contaminating the nursing homes, which caused huge amounts of people in the nursing homes to die. And he tried to hide those numbers. Twice as high as 6,400. Now, Cuomo is supposed to be the poster child for containment. Remember the very first containment zone in New Rochelle? We drove through it because I was there. And I said, you guys, this is the beginning of the end. This containment zone is going to be the first of many. This will be the poster child and the track for our future. We will never go back to normal if we go down this road and allow this to happen and believe this lie. This will become our new reality. Remember, I said those words, and I told you to mark my words, and look at where we are now. Well, Cuomo was at the forefront of this, and he worked with Mr. T. He said it himself, I'm working with Cuomo. And the day after Friday the 13th, or the day before Friday the 13th of March, when Mr. T declared the national emergency, is when this New Rochelle containment zone went into effect. This was their practice run. And the National Guard came in, and we accepted that. And from that point forward, Cuomo became the poster child for containment. There were severe lockdowns. People were stuck in their high-rise buildings for weeks on end. They shut down all the bars, all the businesses in New York. And look at what we have here. All of those measures ended in the rate of infection and death far surpassing almost every other state. So he lied. People died. And guess what? He ain't going to jail. He's not going to lose his freedoms. He'll wiggle out of it like he's wiggled out of everything else. The last thing you want to do when there's any kind of illness running around, whether even the flu, something as simple as the flu, is the last thing you want to do is stack people into houses and not let them walk around outside with fresh air. You can't contain something like this. It has to run its course and finish, no matter how deadly it is. So, this is the story. Mr. C. So we got Mr. T and Mr. C. And that's where we're at with that. Now, we got a show scheduled for tomorrow. We're going to be doing The Watchmen, HBO TV series. We're going to show you how they manufacture division and hate from the top down. Most people of most colors love each other. You know, I tell people I'm eventually going to move out to Arkansas. They look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, you know how racist it is out there? No, it's not. Been there several times now. Those are the nicest people on the planet. Nicer than when I grew up in California, nicer than any other place I've been to, including France. Very nice people, God-fearing people. They love the Lord. They respect you through the person you are, not the color of your skin. If you act like an idiot, you'll be treated like an idiot. But if you respect them and respect their property, they're going to treat you with love. It's not about color. It's about how you behave. And so I was shocked when I opened up Watchmen, the first episode, and it was all about Black Wall Street. On the 20th day of October 2019, the episode aired. And then on the 20th day of June the following year is when Mr. T gave his campaign speech in the very same location, just yards away from the unmarked graves. Now, why would he do something like that? It was intentional. It was to stir up sentiment. It's not that he's a real racist. It's to stir up sentiment. It's to trigger and push along the division. There were 100 things that Mr. T could have done to stop the division. We'll get into some of those solutions at a certain point. Sometimes you have to look at what's not being done versus what is being done to really get down to the bottom of the truth about how these politicians operate. Can you imagine if Mr. T had gotten up there and given a speech, a Republican sitting president, and the speech went something like this? Look, I understand the pain that you've been through. All people of color. I'm here to be different. I'm here to make a change. I want to acknowledge the past, but move forward from that past and not keep wallowing in it. I want to provide any opportunity I can to sit down and talk with people. Can you imagine how far that would have went? The shock on the left's face, hearing those words coming out of his mouth, that would have immediately halted them in their tracks. They don't want that, though. They don't want people to come together. They thrive off of the guessing game, keeping you guessing. Do you understand now what's happening here? Do you understand now how easily that one speech, how far that could have went? What could the left say if he said something like that? What would they be able to say? Oh, he doesn't mean it. No, they couldn't say that because he said it. They would just be sitting there stunned. They would have no ammunition. They would have nothing to report on. The division would be over in one speech. Why wasn't that speech ever made? Why does it take someone like me to tell people the obvious? To help them snap out of how we're being manipulated? We'll go back to Mr. Obama. He could have done the same thing. What if Obama got up there and said, all right, my black brothers and sisters, I know that's been a long road, but white people and black people can really get along, and we always have. We need to stop the division. We need to understand that the past happened, but move past it. And maybe as black people, we can reach out and let people know that we're not angry anymore, and it's okay, and that we can come together as a country. And I'm not going to keep race baiting and making you angry and showing you images of black people being hurt in Hollywood. That really needs to end today. because that's our past. And now we live in the present. What if Obama gave that speech instead of, we're going to get back at those white people because of all the pain we've been through. We're going to have reparations. We're going to talk about reparations. And now we got ours, and look at me, and I'm black, black this, black that. As a black person, we shouldn't be constantly pulling our black card out and in any type of way to lift ourselves up. Because that's the same thing as a white person doing it. If a white person walks around and says, I'm proud and white, why do we call that person a bigot, but then we don't call a person who's black, who says I'm black and proud, a bigot? You guys, this should be common sense, but it's not. Because we've been manipulated from the top down. And we'll talk more about this tomorrow. But I wanted to put this out there so you guys come back tomorrow. We can talk about this race issue some more. Okay? And it's not to say that there still aren't some insensitive things that people say, but at the end of the day, we have to bridge the gap. If someone is not hurting your property or hurting your opportunity in this life, would it really hurt us that bad to say, you know what? That guy said that, but if he knew me and he was my close personal friend, he wouldn't feel that way about my color. And starting there, instead of just jumping on that guy's a racist. Can you imagine? Can you believe what he said? Why do we always jump to that? Because we're programmed to jump to that, because that's how the elite gain control over us. And you guys know it in your heart that that is the truth. So when are we going to stop being manipulated? On the right and the left, black and the white. When are we going to stop? Those of you that come to this channel have stopped. You get it. But then you've got 90% of America who doesn't get it. And they fall right into the roles. They fall right into their roles. So that's it. Let's go into the chat for a little bit, and then we'll pop off of here. Yes, how do we know how much of the past is real and how much is hidden? How do we know how much of the past is exaggerated, Lisa? That's a great point. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the history that we're told, but we know how history works. They exaggerate what they want to, and they hide what they don't. And the means to the end is division. All right. Thanks, Darlene. The new job is to divide. They got to keep the division going. Now, I can't be the only person, and we can't be the only person who get this, but it isn't until you stop. You know, the Bible says, be still and know that I am God. Sometimes you got to just stop. Turn off the TV and stop being manipulated and let God talk to you about how things are. We shouldn't be getting mad that Trump got impeached. We shouldn't be getting mad that Bo Biden got elected. We shouldn't be mad that Obama got elected. We shouldn't be mad. You know, we shouldn't be mad about that. That's wasted energy. That's the energy that they want you to feel. They want you to feel that energy because that keeps the division going. Take a step back and understand that it's all just antics, smoke and mirrors. So, thumbs up this video if you haven't already. If the message that we talked about today resonates with you, I believe it to be the truth. You know, the only people that Jesus really got angry about were the people manipulating everybody else and keeping them in division. They weren't a particular political party. They were the people in power. And that is what we're supposed to be angry at too. We should be turning the money tables over. We should be calling out the elite as a whole, both sides, for their role in imprisoning God's people and causing division. And that's the example that I follow. It's WrestleMania. Exactly, Jaded. Don't get triggered by the scripted reality. Christ will save us all. He will. The Most High bless you as well. Pray the Lord's Prayer, Roy. Your kingdom come and your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. All right, now I'll laugh. I will just laugh if this video gets tagged with the letter that shall not be named. I'm wondering if they're just going to come through and sweep everybody at a certain point. See, if we reach 100,000 subscribers, then I can actually I'll have a way to email or get in contact with someone at YouTube if our channel goes down. And I will appeal it. I'll be able to appeal it. But see, if you don't have 100,000 subscribers, you can't really, there's no one to contact. Kind of like no man's land. And so if we can get to 100,000 subscribers, then if they take our channel, then I will appeal it. And I'll tell them, look at the videos. We're against the letter that shall not be named. Why would you stick that under all of our videos? So up until now, we've flown under the radar. We've had the ability to stay outside of the algorithms. And it's taken a lot of effort. Got to change the way I present to you guys. But we've been able to do it. But now they're putting this stupid disclaimer in our videos. So I'm wondering if there's some future plan that they have to get rid of a bunch of channels. So help us get to 100,000 subscribers. We're almost there. I think we need 5,000 more. And I just feel this sense of urgency right now. I don't know why, but things are about to change bigly. All right. Thanks, Victoria. I appreciate it. Amen, Allie. Thanks, Kenneth. All right. I'm going to pop off of here and let you guys enjoy your Sunday. And we'll be back on here tomorrow. Be well, everybody.